to one of the biggest colorisms out there. That was, believe it or not, done in some people consider to be a positive. Back when they took Dracula and made him black.
Blacula.
I like the way he's fucking kidding me. even William Marshall, who played Dracula, he's like, whoa, what? Blacula's soul brother, #1. Oh man, the reason why we're bringing up Blacula right now, and I've seen Blacula. Blacula is pretty awesome, man. Blacula, I will accept from some people that it has not aged well. It's definitely a product of its of its time, but you know, look, man, it's got some wonderful charm to it, man. And believe it or not, like the movie, it seems like a parody because it's Black Dracula, but it actually has some really great social. I guess some social insight in it. Christian wanted me to play the whole trailer, so it is a hilarious trailer, man. There was a guy that I worked with, and he had this is so long ago. He had a cassette tape, and he had a cassette tape of all these blaxploitation trailers on there. So no video, just audio. And I would listen to that thing all day, man, while I was working. And it cracked me the hell up, man. And this was one of the ones, Blacula. Some of the lines in the trailer itself are amazing.
The Black Avenger.
You're the only imbecile on this street, boy.
Like, bitch, who you talking to? Boy.
Blacula.
I've seen that movie so many times, man. I was young. I love that. I used to watch all these blaxploitation movies. The reason why we're bringing this up is because, well, as with everything, as we said, everything's getting rebooted, remade, reimagined, revisioned, whatever you want to call it, redecorated, and they're doing the same thing with Blacula. It was about time, right? With the success of black horror that is out there, you've seen it all. Some of them more successful than others, and some we haven't seen yet. Of course, there's Get Out. Lovecraft Country, for the most part, people love that. Haven't seen Candyman yet. That's Them up there, which had some great insight. But did you see Them?
I saw the pilot. That was it. It was all right.
Yeah, it's infuriating for me. But
the thing is, like, Lovecraft Country did it better in the first episode, so I already felt like it was just repeating themselves, which is a very interesting thing about how Them actually was in production first before Lovecraft, but Lovecraft beat him out to release date. So it's one of those things where they feel like they were copying each other, but I just didn't really vibe with Them, unfortunately.
Them was something that, I'll say this, one of the things that Blacula could do, and I don't want to just make this about Them. We did a review on Them, and that was the movie, or series on Amazon where it was about a black family that moves into a white neighborhood, and everything was just kind of extra in there. The racists were almost cartoonish in a way. There was all this, people talking about the black violence and abuse and all the black, the black struggle that gave us all these images of such things as the violence in there that was just, I guess, kind of overbearing. Like they killed babies in there, black babies. The neighbors were just relentless. The black people were going through so much trauma. That's the key word, trauma, right there. There's been this thing about struggle movies, along with the trauma that we keep seeing over and over again. Is like, man, all right, time for some balance. Maybe we don't need to put any kind of issues in there at all. Or maybe something like horror, with the way Get Out did it, maybe Blacula will be the thing to bring that in and be fun.
I think there's something very interesting about even the narrator saying, he's more horrifying than Dracula. And there's like a double entendre there, right? Because in the old Dracula films, it was like he was the other by virtue of being like a foreigner. But not only like is he the other by being a vampire, he's also the other because he's black. So of course he's more horrifying. Yeah, little things like that I think are really interesting. The whole reason he becomes Blacula is he's trying to stop the North Atlantic slave trade. How do you do a narrative tightrope walk? How do you adapt Blacula into today's thing?
First of all, it's going to be tough because his name is Blacula.
Blacula.
Like I say, even he can't believe that shit. So I don't know, man. You'd have to keep the name Blacula because it's got that brand, right?
Yeah.
So I wonder if you could call him Blacula, but it has to, it's self-aware. Like people make fun of his name, or people are laughing about it. That's kind of ridiculous. I don't know if it's the same guy. Blackenstein, man, was I saw that, and that was a terrible movie, man. I thought it was gonna be funny, and I thought it was gonna be smart, like Blacula. Nah.
Well, I'll
man.
tell you this: William Crane did not do Blackenstein, but he did do Dr. Black and Mr. Hyde. If you wanted to have that one.
Yeah, I saw that one too, and that one's equally ridiculous. That one's actually kind of fun though, but it's terrible.
So what brings you to California?
Well, I just arrived.
Look at this shit. Yeah, okay, so it's not the same guy. Good to hear. I've said this before, and again, you guys heard me say this over and over again. It's in the writing, man. I mean, even when we saw Get Out, we heard it was like a black dude being brainwashed by a white family, and we all thought that was going. When we saw the trailer, we thought, okay, is this a parody of blaxploitation? Is this a comedy? And then end up being one of the best movies of that year when it came out. Blacula, if they write it smart, especially with some of the things that you're bringing up, Christian. Yeah, anything can be done, man. It depends on what kind of tightrope you're walking. I do think it would be cool to make it kind of not campy, but kind of make it humorous in some parts, make it self-aware, but also make everything make sense. If something sounds ridiculous, well, then write it to where it makes sense.
I'm excited to see what they do with it for sure. It's weird because this isn't this isn't Jaws or something. It's not like a film that should never be remade. Like, it's really good in spots. It's really silly in others. So I don't think there's going to be the same kind of emotional attachment to it.
Well, I mean, blaxploitation is known for its campiness because they didn't have the budget to do what Hollywood movies were doing, and there was a certain freedom with that. They didn't have the budget, so they had these, kind of goofy looking sets and effects and whatnot. But at the same time, being that they were outside the system, they were able to say a lot of things. Blaxploitation, for all for having that name exploitation in there, seems like it was exploitive of black people in cinema and whatnot. It actually had the freedom to go and say more than, or say what needed to be said that Hollywood wasn't saying, and also cast people in other roles that Hollywood wasn't casting them in. We got to be the detectives. We got to be the heroes. We got to be the sexy, leading man. We got to be the creatures. And that was kind of cool too.
From maids to pimps and hoes.
If there was somebody black, they would be the first to die.
Name
Is Blacula.
Yeah, that's hard noir. I actually interviewed that director of that documentary, and exactly what they're saying there is like, Hollywood would never address some of those things the way these blaxploitation movies were, because they were outside the system, and they got to be a lot of things. They got to be the voice of the community while also giving people better roles, better images of themselves. So anyway, But again,
we're talking about cultures maybe not being all on the same side of it. Blaxploitation, coined by the president of the NAACP at the time, and he meant it as a demerit, as like a derogatory thing. And I think that's what's so interesting about it is like there were one part of the community was like, no, we're taking this in our own hands. Like, no longer are we going to be relying on other people to tell the stories that we want to tell, to cast ourselves in the roles that we want to play. But there was another part of that, the same culture, that was very against it.
Yeah.
And I just think that's an interesting thing. That's a struggle that you constantly have to kind of go up to. And I think black audiences, it really, and that's why Horror Noir is such a wonderful documentary. If you haven't seen it, please go watch it, because it does talk about that relationship about black people in horror, and especially what is horrifying to black audiences.
Before we go, because I know I got to go, but I want to put this out there, man. William Marshall, do you know who else he was besides Blacula? Do you know what other icon he was?
Pee-wee's Playhouse, right?
Yeah, man, that's it. He was the king of cartoons.
Pee-wee's Playhouse. I'm Pee-wee's new friend, Zizzy Baluba. May I tell him who's calling, please?
Blacula!